So this is a story set that I've designed. It's kind of a story set that's intended for an audience of storytellers like you all are that are watching it here. Throughout this course I've been really interested in the idea of how to bring storytelling into museums and bringing the history and the rich history of primary documents, what I think of as folk songs and folk tales, into a more text-based tradition of museums. So to start out, I just want you to think really quickly and think back to your most favorite museum experience ever. Being in a museum, something that you remember about being in a museum, or the first image that you see when you think of museums. Everybody got one? So I'm willing to bet that the majority of the ones that you have chosen are something that's visually based, something text-based, something you saw written on the wall or read about, or something that you saw and was very visual, like a dinosaur in the National Museum of History, or Museum of Natural History, or something like that. Museums do a very, very poor job of preserving the very sounds, the smells, the taste, the other senses that are not associated with looking. And I think that incorporating storytelling and songs and singing into museum exhibits could really enliven the effect. So these next couple of stories look at history through the lens of the primary document of an original song. So the first one talks a little bit about cowboy life. So something like this. As I was walking one morning for pleasure, I spied a cowpuncher riding along. His hat was thrown back and his spurs was a-jingling, and as he approached he was singing this song. Wolfie-ki-yi-yo, get along, little doggy, your misfortune and mine. Wolfie-ki-yi-yo, get along, little doggy, Wyoming will be your new home. Well, I looked at this man, and I asked him, "Doggies?" I looked out at what he was standing with, and, well, they looked a lot like cattle to me. He laughed and looked down at me and said, "Not those types of tail-wagging, yapping, bone-burying pups. No, not those types of doggies. Our doggies are orphan cows, about a year old. And they're not really doggies, they're more dogies. You see, these little orphan calves, when they're about a year old, they go out and they feed on grass, and they drink water, and this results in their stomachs getting real big and bloated. Some fellows decided they looked a lot like sacks of bread, sacks of sourdough dough stuck in sacks around their bellies. So they gave them a nickname, dough bellies. Well, that's kind of a long-winded nickname, so eventually they changed it down to dogies, and that's what we are hiring today. "Oh," I said, looking up at the gentleman again. "I see, I think. Well, what do you do with these dogies?" He laughed, shook his head back again, and started singing. "It's early in spring when we round up the doggies. We mark them and brand them and bob off their tails. We round up the horses, load up the chuck wagon, as we go driving them out on the trail. Wolfie-ki-yi-yo, get along, little after that verse. I've got 2 questions for you. Number 1, chuck wagon? And number 2, what trail are you going on? What's so bad about being down here in Texas? He laughed again and he explained. Well, chuck wagon is the name that we give to the wagon that houses the food when we're out on the trail. You see, we feed our cattle down here in Texas, but they can be sold really well up in Wyoming, and there's a little bit more pasture land up there. So we take this pilgrimage, taking these year-long calves up to Wyoming to feed, and then we sell them to the reservations out in Idaho to have beef for the people that are living out there. Oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But who's this we talk about? He laughed again and explained that it takes a lot of people to move a whole herd of cows up to anywhere. And a lot of times they use songs like the one he was sharing with me to keep track of each other and to calm the cows as they're moving along, keep track of each of the other cowboys that are out on the trail. He admitted that not all cowboys go up on the trail for good reasons. A lot of them go just for an adventure. But he said that can sometimes cause a problem. Now some fellows go up the trail for pleasure, but that's where they get it most awfully wrong. For you haven't an idea the trouble they give us as we go driving them doggies along. Get along with doggies, with your misfortune is not of my own. Get along with doggies, you know Wyoming will be your home. Well, I was getting the feeling that I'd taken up a little too much of this gentleman's time. So I thanked him for his answers and wished him luck on the trail and headed out on my way home.